What's up, you guys? I'm Anya.
And I'm Kylie, and this is 2 Degrees Hotter,
the post-grad podcast where we get real about life after college every Tuesday. So one of my big intentions for this upcoming year is to become as low waste and low carbon impact as possible. And I know, like, you don't have to tell me that the corporations are the problem, and like putting all this responsibility on individuals is like problematic. Like, I totally am in agreement with that, but I think I personally feel good when I know that I'm not contributing in a major way. So that's why I do it. I don't do it because I think it's going to make the biggest difference ever. Like, I understand that there are more institutional problems, but just makes me feel good. So knowing that, I'm going to try to, be more intentional about like shopping zero waste when I can, or just like bringing the reusable coffee cup, like going the extra mile in little ways that I can. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that mindset. I think it has to be kind of like a practice what you preach mindset, where you can advocate and recognize that, individual choices aren't going to make the difference that we need, but you can still make those individual choices, and you might as well do that while simultaneously recognizing where the change really has to happen. But my first personal goal is to find a hobby outside of the podcast that I can turn to when I need a mental break, when I'm taking those breaks from school. I'm realizing that I don't really have one of those. The podcast kind of became my hobby, and as much as I love this, I think we talked about in a past episode that, like, it's great that we have this, but we also need to both have our own separate hobbies that we can turn to. And I don't have one of those, so I'm gonna find one. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm thinking I might go back to our journaling episode and look into like the more like visual, like Katie Bellotti style journaling. I think that could be a really fun creative expression for me. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on where I land and what I find works for me.
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of the conversation I had at the doctor's that I like told the story about at one point, where they're like, "What do you like to do?" And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. We have no hobbies.
Yeah, so definitely understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
My next one is to try to shop as small and as ethically as I can. Obviously, I'm not in the financial position to like buy everything handmade, local, fair trade, everything, but I think when I'm in the position to do it, I need to start choosing that over like the instant gratification of Amazon and things like that, because I think ordering from Amazon is a really easy way out. And it's, again, not our fault as consumers that like this is the easier option presented to us. And a lot of people only have that option. And I totally understand that. But I think when it's possible for me, I want to try to shop more locally and smaller. So kind of just like double checking if there's ever something that I want to order on Amazon, double checking if there's like a comparable small business option or like a comparable local option before I just hit order is something that I want to start doing. And I think this especially became my mindset when I started working with startup companies and small businesses, and just like knowing how much more it means to like have your dreams actualized through a purchase rather than just like contributing another number of cents to Jeff Bezos' pocket, as much as I love, the convenience of Amazon and everything. But I'm just going to try to be like more intentional about always checking other options before just hitting order this year.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. So for me, this is like the nerdiest goal ever, but it's genuine. I'm just showing my true self. And it's to write more. So I found throughout the semester that I missed writing essays so much. I spent 4 years of my life just writing essays every week, and it's gone. Like, I had a legal writing class, but it's not the same. Like, legal writing, for those that aren't familiar, it's like a fill in the blank puzzle where you just like insert all the pieces with like the appropriate client facts and law and submit. And if you can figure out how to do that, like, you're golden. And so I just like miss writing and like getting fulfillment out of like researching and putting together like the pieces of whatever it is that like the topic is. So obviously I'm not going to just like write academic essays for fun like that. I'm not that nerdy, but I do want to make sure that I write more, whether it be through journaling or just like when I feel inspired. I feel like I take a lot. I'm going to mention Katie Bellotti again because I just think she's the coolest. But like, she, for her podcast, does so much research into like various points in history. And I feel like that's something I could just do for myself to like become better educated and kind of flex that writing muscle when I'm really feeling like I've been doing all reading and need to like work a different part of my brain.
Yeah, and we like briefly talked about Medium together, like
Yeah.
as like a potential side hustle. So I feel like if you do end up doing that research, it could be beneficial to like promote it there and post it and see what happens.
Yeah.
My next one, I'm not going to talk too much about this right now because I'm going to mention it later on in the episode, but I'd really like to move out of my parents' house. Not that I don't enjoy being here. I think I'm like really at a place where I've gotten used to it and like I'm really in a routine and it's nice to spend time with my family and my pets and everything. But I just think getting that independence back is something that I want to try to make happen in 2021. But like I said, I'll expand more after.
For sure. So my next goal is to get in the habit of doing a non-school related reading every night. I'm thinking like 30 minutes a night before bed. Um, because I'm sure a lot of students can honestly relate to this, that being a student requires a lot of reading for most majors and courses. So the last thing you want to do for fun is read. But again, I'm a big fat nerd and I love reading. And I find myself just like, the word regret is in my mind, but that's not what I mean. Like, what is the word I'm looking for?
Resent?
Yes, resent. Thank you. I find myself resenting reading and like wanting nothing to do with it, but I do get a lot of joy from like reading for pleasure. So I want to get like back into that habit and like make it part of my like nightly routine, and hopefully I can like separate in my brain the academic reading from the like leisurely reading. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know how sustainable it is because law school does require like 200 to 300 pages of reading a week. And so adding on anything to that, but I feel like 30 minutes is enough where it's like very little and it's not going to add that much more reading to my week. And at least it's like reading that I'll enjoy. So we'll see.
Yeah. On a similar note, one of my goals was to read, I was thinking one book per month, but now I'm thinking maybe just like 12 books total in the year is like a more feasible goal in case one month just like ends up being super busy or something like that. So, yeah, I guess on a similar note, like I have never been that good about reading. Because I think because I had the excuse in college of like, oh, I read so much anyway, like I just never super got into reading for leisure, but I admire people that like are so educated because they read in their free time, and like having screen-free activities is so important. So I really want to become more of that person. And I did get some books for Christmas that I'm like excited about the subject matter and stuff. So I think it's attainable. But yeah, send me your recommendations because I kind of want to list out now every book so that I'm like really held accountable and like maybe just buying them all right off the bat off that website that I mentioned, Better World Books, I think it's called, that
Mm-hmm.
like donates a book for every book that you buy. So kind of like hitting those two goals in one, like more ethical consumption and then also reading 12 books. So yeah, send me your recommendations if you guys have any books. I'm open to fiction and nonfiction. I'm more of a nonfiction person, but if you have a really good fiction book, I'm open. So let me know.
Yeah. I'm more of a fiction gal, so feel free to send me all your fiction and I will read absolutely anything. I don't care how trashy, romantic, whatever it is. I love a good book. So, my next goal, and I feel like this is a goal that everyone has, but I have to put it on there because I can always be better at it, and it is to drink more water. I always have. I have it with me right now. And I try to drink 3 of these a day. It's for people that are listening on audio, or if this doesn't make it to video. I just have like a 32-ounce mason jar and I fill it up with water 3 times a day. And some days I'm really good about it, some days I'm really bad about it. So I want to have more good days than bad and just make sure that I'm drinking water and not as much sparkling water, because I've tricked my brain into thinking that sparkling water counts, and
Yeah.
so
I forget. It's called, there's like this app where you water a plant with every like amount of water you drink, and it's like really sad if the plant dies, so you should look into that and then
I
get it
should.
because it like helps you track because you also are like feeling for this like virtual plant that you're taking care
Yeah,
of.
I'll look into
um
it.
my next goal is to find more ways to keep dance in my life. You guys probably know, but that's actually how Kylie and I know each other. Is we grew up dancing
Mhm.
together, and both of our dance careers ended really abruptly this past spring when senior semester went under due to coronavirus and everything. So I feel like I didn't really have closure on that part of my life, and I don't know if I want it. Like I don't know if I when it's safe and possible, like I'm going to continue dance in some more legitimate setting, or just like be more of a bystander and like enjoy going to shows. Like I just want to figure out like what dance is in this next stage of my life to me, and like how to keep it in my life, because I felt really distant from it these past like 6 months, and it's not fun to be so distant from something that like was legitimately your life for like 20 years. So I just want to figure out like what the next steps of like keeping dance in my life could look like, and like start exploring those more.
Yeah, I dittoed this goal. I had a realization. I was taking a Peloton ride, and the ride like specifically like went to the beat of the music, and there was like choreography on the bike and things like that. And at the end of the ride, the instructor was like, if you're a dancer or if you're a former dancer, like these groove rides, that's what they're called, are definitely for you. And my dad had like just come downstairs, and I looked at him and I was like, am I a former dancer? Like
Mm-hmm.
what? And of course my dad being my dad, he's like, no, like it's totally like you're still you're always a dancer. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't think I am anymore. um so yeah, so kind of the same way that you were saying, I think ideally I would want to figure out a way to keep actually dancing. Um, but I also recognize that as we get older, it's going to be a little less feasible. And also in the pandemic, it's like really not feasible because where can we go? And I'm not just going to like bust a move in my basement, or maybe I will. Who knows? So yeah, just figuring out how to like keep it in my life, because I feel like you said, we had it in our lives for 20 plus years, and I'm just not ready to let go of it yet.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think we have to. Our dance teacher Sandy
Yeah.
always said like life's a dance, like you're always going to have
Yeah.
dance in your life, but I just want to figure out how to have it more literally in my life.
Yeah. Agreed.
My next one is just to take every opportunity to spend time in nature. Like if I'm ever at the cabin and like don't have anything to do for the next few hours, like going on a hike, like just making sure that I'm like taking the time to be outside, even if the weather is not ideal. Cause I just know that like I feel so much better after spending time outside. So like forcing myself to do that more often this year is a goal.
Yeah. So then my last little personal goal is to stay off my phone first thing in the morning and last thing at night, because this is something that I do. The last thing I'm looking at is my phone when I go to bed, and the first thing that I grab is my phone in the morning. And it just doesn't need to be that way. There's nothing going on. Like there's no need. So obviously reading 30 minutes before bed should help with the nighttime goal. I just need to get better at like, I feel like I should start doing, I saw somewhere that like you should write like a small like 3-item to-do list of like simple items, like make your bed, go get a glass of water, and like brush your teeth or something like that, and force myself to do those 3 things before I'm allowed to look at my phone. Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
like implementing one thing that's supposed to take, 20 minutes or so. Just to ensure that like I'm not consuming content literally from sunrise to sunset, because that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and there's no need.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because my last goal on this list, I wrote it out and I was like, this is funny. Be more content without content.
Okay, I was reading this as both being content. So I was like, be more content without content. I was like, does she mean like be happy even when it's sad? Like positivity?
No, like I want to like be able to sit without music on, without a podcast on, without a video on. Like I want to be able to like fill that space, because I literally think about how like people in, I don't know, Victorian times like didn't have content to consume, and I'm like they must have had so much more interesting thoughts because they could like actually think and like not just be like infiltrated by all these external things all the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really have like actionable ways to implement this yet, but I just want to like, because similar to you, like every single time I have a free second, even in the shower, I'm listening to a podcast, like I'm always filling the space with something. So I guess just
Yeah.
trying to have like more space that's not full so that I can
Yeah.
like fill it with my own thoughts.